Hey everyone, and welcome back to the House of Ambu. Today I will be reviewing Percy Jackson Season 2. I hope everyone's been good and enjoyed the new season, because I definitely did. And better news, we have an announcement for Season 3 coming out this year. This soon is actually kind of crazy. I did not think we would be getting Season 3 this soon, but I'm definitely hyped for it. It's one of my favorite books out of the original 5, so I'm hyped for that. But today let's talk about Season 2, which is also a great season. Before we get to that though, let's start off with our video quote. Today's quote is, "Learn from the past, but live for the future." Alright, so going into a brief non-spoiler review, I really like this season. In my opinion, I like this season more than season 1. From what I heard, I think a lot of show watchers only that haven't read the book prefer season 1, which is honestly pretty valid because that season is definitely a lot more action packed and there's a lot more going on in that season. We don't get that as much in this season. It's more character development and like a transitional season into season 3. So I can see how it's kind of hard, especially if you don't know what's coming next. You could think this feels not as much action packed and lacking compared to season 1. Just to give you notice, I'll be staying away from book spoilers, but I have read all of the Percy Jackson books, all the way from Lightning Thief, all the way to the newest book, Core of the Dead. So I'm pretty knowledgeable in this area, but I won't be going into details. I'll just say very vague stuff, but I guess if you don't want any knowledge of anything that happens within these next couple of seasons, then you can watch another video, but I'll be very vague and won't be going in depth or anything on other seasons or the other books. But yeah, in my opinion, I like season 2 more than season 1, and hot take, I'll go over this a little bit more in the video, but I think season 2 is definitely better than the book Sea of Monsters. Out of the original 5 books, Sea of Monsters is easily the worst one. I think anyone who read the books can agree on that. And they managed to make Sea of Monsters one of the most boring books. It's still a great book, don't get me wrong, but compared to all the other 4 books, they're just so much better. But they managed to make the most boring book out of the 5 amazing. Like, I was so hyped, and they expanded on more of the things. It really felt like less of a filler season than in the book. It really did feel like kind of like a little bit filler, like nothing too much happened. But yes, if you like season 1, or I don't know why you've been watching this, you haven't even watched any of the seasons or books, but I definitely recommend going to season 1, watching that, and definitely watching season 2, because if you thought season 2 was good or if you thought it was still a little bit mediocre, wait until season 3. It's going to be way better. It's one of my favorite books out of the 5, and this is just a build up. This is just the start of it. Even though season 2 is still great, we get a bunch of amazing character development, some cool fights still, not as many as season 1, and we just get so much more world building. But yes, highly recommend that. I guess you could read the book too if you want. I would actually probably recommend you watching the show over reading the book, but if you want the full experience, you can still read Sea of Monsters. Alright, before I go into these spoilers. Alright, so starting with spoilers, I just want to give a notice to the hardcore book readers, even though I guess I'm one of them, but I don't think they really had any bad changes in this season. I can't think of one change I did not like. Maybe they missed out on a few stuff. Sure, I have that. I have some notes written down on that, some of the things they missed. But the changes, I think I liked every single one of the changes. I generally can't think of a bad change they made. Compared to season 1, I definitely had a bit more problems with it. But this season, there was no changes I didn't like. And I felt like it expanded onto it. And it made me seeing this as a book reader more invested into the show, because I did not know what was going to happen. Especially the last 2 episodes, all that didn't even happen in the books, really. So I was basically watching that for the first time. I think people need to stop complaining about changes, because it's a show. We've been known this wasn't going to be a one-to-one adaptation. Nothing's ever going to be a one-to-one adaptation. So I think we just gotta take that with a grain of salt and just consider this a different alternate universe or expanded lore of the original Percy Jackson universe. It's never going to be the same as the book, and people just gotta accept that. I think it's really bad that we're hating on this amazing season, and I really hope that there's still enough people watching this and really happy about this season that we could actually get all 5 of these books, and maybe even Heroes of Olympus soon. Well, talking about changes, I might as well go into some of my negatives first so we could talk more about positives. But really, I think all my negatives are maybe just some small things I don't like, but most of my negatives are just stuff they missed out on the book. Okay, so the first change I could think of is the Caduceus snakes, George and Martha. Rip George and Martha. So first, let me explain what the scene actually is. This is in the beginning, I think episode 2, where Hermes is speaking with Percy before they go onto the cruise ship. But in the book, they were supposed to be George and Martha, which is his snakes that are on his staff, the caduceus, or however you pronounce it. And they were supposed to be like comedic value, but obviously the show took it as more of a serious scene, which makes sense because Luke is missing and Hermes cares about his son. And I honestly really love how serious it was. But I did miss George and Martha. I really do hope we get them later on because they're still characters. I feel like we still should be showing those characters and just showing how goofy Greek mythology could be at times. So I did kind of miss George and Martha, even though they didn't play that big of a role. Another change was Tantalus. I don't know where this would have been in, probably episode 1 or the beginning of episode 2. But Tantalus, as we know in Greek mythology, or if you didn't know, he basically fed his kids to the gods, and that's why he was punished and can't eat or drink. I think they went over it a little bit in the show, but not that much. And I really like the perspective in the book. Like, even reading it was definitely sounding way more scary and more serious. Hey guys, Ambu here, and I found the line in the text, so I just want to give you guys a quick read of it. Once upon a time, there was a mortal king who was beloved of the gods. Tantalus put his hand on his chest, and I got the feeling he was talking about himself. This king, he said, was even allowed to feast on Mount Olympus, but when he tried to take some ambrosia and nectar back to Earth to figure out the recipe, just one little doggy bag, mind you, the gods punished him. They banned him from their hall forever. His own people mocked him. His children scolded him, and oh yes, campers, he had horrible children. Children just like you. He pointed a crooked finger at several people in the audience, including me. Do you know what he did to his ungrateful children? Tantalus asked softly. Do you know how he paid back the gods for their cruel punishment? He invited the Olympians to a feast at his palace just to show there were no hard feelings. No one noticed that his children were missing. And when he served the gods dinner, my dear campers, can you guess what was in the stew? No one dared answer. The firelight glowed dark blue, reflecting evilly on Tantalus' crooked face. Oh, the gods punished him in the afterlife, Tantalus croaked. They did indeed, but he had his moment of satisfaction, hadn't he? His children never again spoke back to him or questioned his authority. And do you know what? Rumor has it that the king's spirit now dwells at this very camp, waiting for a chance to take revenge on ungrateful, rebellious children. And so, are there any more complaints before he sent Clarice off on her quest? Really dark, and maybe that's why they didn't want to do it. Maybe it would have been too dark for the show, but I think it was a really important line to show this character and how evil and cruel he is. So the show did make him a little bit more goofy. He definitely was goofy in some parts of the books too, but I wish you did get to see that little bit of serious aspect, especially in the beginning of the story. Like, I think it makes Percy's decision to leave camp a lot more serious. Like, this is a guy you're messing with, and how determined Percy was to leave to save Grover. Okay, and another change, which is a pretty big one, but it was during the siren scene. Percy and Annabeth went underwater to block out the sound for the sirens, and Percy was able to comfort her and like protect her by creating a bubble underwater. So it's very, in the book community, is a very like important Percabeth development moment, and it kind of did suck how they missed this, and like spoilers, but it does come back later on, so maybe they're saving it for a later moment, a more important moment. So I do hope they bring back the bubble because it is very iconic, but the siren scene was still great, which I'll go into more later. All right, the last thing that they didn't add that I didn't like was a small one, I guess, but I wanted to see Blackjack talk, because in the book he talks. Even though Percy didn't talk to Blackjack in the book, like seeing monsters, technically that doesn't happen until season 3, Titan's Curse, but he's supposed to be able to communicate because Poseidon created horses somehow. But let's not get into the Greek mythology lore. But anyway, yeah, it would have been cool to see him talk, especially since we've seen Percy talking and it looked like he was just talking to himself. So hopefully they cast someone to voice act him. I know some people were saying Jack Black, which would be kind of funny for Blackjack, so I could definitely see that. And yeah, I just want to hear him be like, oh, hey boss. And yeah, he's supposed to be another comedic value thing too, so I think that would be really cool. And he's really a character too. He plays a pretty important role too. Nothing too crazy, but still, it's the little things that matter sometimes. Okay, now going into positives. I think my first positive has to be the chariot race. It just looked amazing. It was so practical too. It just felt so alive for the books. Literally perfect. I don't think I really have any complaints about that. It just so good, so entertaining. It was just really good. And then we got the birds too attacking. That whole scene was really great. I felt like right out of the book. These are the one adaptations like I'm talking about. Like, I don't think people should be complaining that read the books that they're not doing everything the same, because we really have all the important moments are exactly the same. But they're only changing some stuff, and the stuff they change is definitely improving the show. Like I said, I can't think of a bad change they made from the show in season 2 at least. I definitely didn't like some of the changes in season 1. All right, so Luke's second in lead, Allison, which if you didn't know, was not a character originally in the book, and it's basically a new canon character that Rick created. So I definitely love the addition of this demigod, because we get to actually see adult demigods and like what happens to them, because even in the books we don't really even know. It's just most demigods just die as kids or teens, so it really does kind of suck. But this is actually we seeing these adult demigods that weren't lucky, or children of the big three that get to go on quests like that. They just have nothing to do. And this goes back to this whole thing of glory and how they fight at camp for glory. And these people in Luke's demigod crew want glory, and that's why they're serving Kronos. And also because Zeus sucks. Like, everyone hates the Olympians, and they make that very clear, especially in the finale, which I really do like that change. Also, Allison being a daughter of Apollo, like, we don't really see that at all until like way later in the books, like the next series. So it's really cool to see like a somewhat of a main character that has pretty good abilities because of their parentage. Then Clarice too, like, they did such a great job. Like, this is another thing that we don't really get in the book, because we only see in Percy's perspective, which is very limited. In the show we can actually see other perspectives, like we see the stuff with Grover going on, which was cool. But I definitely like the Clarice perspective the most, because we actually got to see more Clarice. Like, in the book, all that happened off screen, so we actually get to see her interaction with her dad Ares, which was definitely scary, and how much pressure she has to face for this quest. We get to see her building relationships with her soldiers, promise them to get them to Elysium because they're in Asphodel already, or they go to Asphodel when they die. Like, I don't even think that was in the book from what I remember. I think that was a great change, and it actually shows Clarice with more personality and how determined she is to succeed this quest, and that's why she's acting this way. So it doesn't seem like she's kind of just a jerk and just jealous of Percy doing everything. Also, that episode 4, where they're on the ship with Clarice and they're like sailing this through the Sea of Monsters, just everything just looks so great. Like, the budget just increased dramatically from season 1. Everything just looks so much better than season 1. I'm really happy about it, and I hope the budget keeps increasing and we get more cooler shots like this later on, especially for season 3. Cersei's episode was cool, especially after reading Cersei. I got to learn more about her character. I definitely feel like they handled her right, and her fatal flaw of being like empathy, but she's still taking advantage of people so she could help them kind of at the same time. I really did think the concept was cool, how she's only letting some of the heroes escape, and it's just a ploy basically. And then learning their fatal flaws. Like, it makes sense that Annabeth already knew her fatal flaw and that she practices at camp. You can know what your fatal flaw is, but still can't do much about it. Then Percy's fatal flaw being loyalty. I like the world burn for you. Like, it's just so great. Really is. And then we get to see in that episode later on with the sirens how those fatal flaws complement each other. They both help each other, because Percy cares for Annabeth too much, and Annabeth is too prideful. Like, she thought she could beat the sirens. Percy had to get her back into reality, really, and show her some things you just can't do. Like, no one has ever been the sirens before, and Annabeth's pride led her to believe that she could do it. And the pride was for like her mom, Athena. Like, when she came in, I was so shocked. I thought that was actually her for a second, but then it started catching on to me. I was like, wait, Athena would never do that. So it really shows how much pride she has and how much she wants to do for her mother too. And then literally the next episode, Polyphemus' Island, Percy gives away the fleece because of his fatal flaw, loyalty. He wants to save Annabeth. He's basically endangering the entire camp just to save Annabeth. Clarice lady tells him this, and we see his fatal flaw in action again. And since Annabeth is knocked out, she can't help him control his fatal flaw like he did with her the last episode. Also, I think it was a really great change making Polyphemus smart, because in the books he's really just like a dumb giant cyclops basically. But it makes sense. Like, he has the same abilities as Tyson. He should be able to mimic voices, trick people, and he could literally like hear everything like Tyson. So it would make sense. He could hear Grover talking to Percy. He could hear Clarice coming in. So I think it was really cool and added to that threat. So he's not just some big dumb giant they gotta beat, and they're like an actual threat. Then in episode 7, we get to see an Aphrodite kid, which I don't think the book expanded on too much, but we get to see him actually using charm speak. Let me actually explain charm speak first. because I don't think the show really does. It's basically like hypnotizing people with your voice. As long as they're somewhat attracted to you, you're able to basically convince them of stuff with the power. So that's why he was trying to charm see Percy to get him out of there. That's the part we never see from Aphrodite kids until, like, spoiler, but book 6. Like, we don't really get to see any of these powers. Like, even Luke opened up portals. I'm pretty sure, I mean, that might be a Kronos ability, but that might be a Hermes ability too. And if it is, I think that's really cool. We get to see these other children of the gods actually have like pretty cool abilities and not just be like the big three children like Percy and Thalia, that's it. Then the build up for Thalia, because in the book there was no final battle. Thalia just came awake and it was just a surprise, even though it was kind of hinting towards it. I really do like Annabeth telling Luke about Thalia and trying to get him back to his senses, because she knows Thalia would help him maybe not turn completely from Kronos, but at least have some sense and urgency too to save Thalia. And they just built it up the entire season, like how the two sides of the coin wasn't just Percy and Kronos, it was Percy and Thalia the entire time. And this is really gonna connect in season 3 of how they might clash or get along, but they're both competing for that prophecy and who's going to take charge. And it looks like Annabeth leans more towards Thalia than Percy, which I won't spoil, but we'll see in season 3. And talk about fatal flaws, like I said before in the finale with Annabeth telling Percy to use the fleece on the tree, he definitely wanted to use it on her, but because of his loyalty, and he wants to help Annabeth and actually save her because she was injured. But he actually puts the fleece on the tree. Actually, he gives Clarice the fleece to put on the tree, which is basically the opposite of what he did in episode 6. So he saved the camp instead of risking the entire camp to save Annabeth. He saved the camp by giving the fleece to Clarice and did the right thing. So Annabeth, since she was conscious this time, was actually able to keep Percy's fatal flaw in check and give Clarice the fleece to save the day, basically, because it was her quest. I really did like how they did that, because that was 2 times basically he helped Clarice and acknowledged it was his quest. It did seem a little bit selfish in the book of him going on the quest, and it wasn't really cleared up that much of him apologizing. It was kind of just a convenience, but I do like how they really made it clear that Percy was like, I'm just trying to save my friend. I didn't mean to get away in your quest, like, this is your quest. So that was really cool, and I think it really makes Percy a better character too. Like, these are the changes I'm talking about that make it more enjoyable and better writing than the books, especially Sea of Monster, one of the worst books. The final fight was great in the finale. Percy versus Luke again, Tyson saving him, really was great. Thalia coming back was great. But I think the biggest thing was the reveal, which we did not get in the book at all. In the book, it was phrased how Zeus basically saved Thalia's life. In the show, we actually learned that Zeus kind of basically punished his own daughter, which was very scary because she wouldn't be his soldier, which is actually insane. It definitely makes sense that Zeus would do something like this. Like, I think it's really cool how we're really pinning this on Zeus and showing that he's a bad guy. And I feel like we didn't get that much in season 1, but we're really seeing how, like, could Kronos be right? Or even if the Olympians really that much better than the Titans? Because Zeus did that to his own daughter and he broke his rules. First off, he already had a daughter which was already breaking the rules. Then he intervened when she was about to die just to punish her too, like breaking all the rules of the gods. It really makes you think, like, are the Olympians that good of guys? Especially, like, we see what Hermes too. Like, obviously Hermes did something to make Luke this mad. And then Zeus is always the worst. And it really pins us on Zeus being an antagonist even. But we're working for the antagonist, which I really think is really cool. And really diving into the book. And we'll see this in the later seasons, especially season 3, which I'm really excited for. I hope they dive into this. Like, even Annabeth's reaction to, like, how Thalia is and being alive and how much more she cares about Thalia than Luke, or if Thalia would even join Luke. We get to ask these questions earlier on, and it really builds the tension and expands on for the next season. And like I said, I generally can't think of a bad change they made this season. Just a couple of things they missed out on, like the snakes or the bubble scene. But other than that, it was a fantastic season, and I definitely like it more than season 1 because I like the Lightning Thief book more than season 1 of the show. But overall, I would give this show a 8.5 out of 10. And this is a rating for the entire show, not just the season, because I don't like rating seasons separately. I think it's just kind of weird. You should be rating the entire show as you go. But yes, season 2 definitely helps a lot because I had more complaints about season 1. I definitely feel like there wasn't as much tension as there was in the books, and they definitely missed out some stuff in the books and made some changes I wasn't a big fan of. But like I said before, they didn't do that in season 2, which I absolutely love. And I'm definitely hyped for season 3, and I hope show watchers are too. But sorry for the extra long video. It's Percy Jackson. I had to yap about it. I love this franchise so much. But for next week, I just realized we actually have a new Marvel show, Wonder Man. So it will either be a video on Wonder Man, or I'll be continuing with Lion King 2. So whichever one of those I get done first will be the next video. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next one. And yeah, season 3 this year. Hope you guys are excited.